No doubt. The big story today, Portugal taking on Serbia. The fact it's a 1-1 draw isn't the story. The fact that Cristiano Ronaldo had to go off after half an hour is the big story of the day. Gab Marcotti, what are you hearing about this?
Well, it's obviously a muscular injury of some kind. There's 16 days to go as we tape this to the Ajax game. They're pretty confident that he can come back in some form if he has to, but Juventus have also taken the view that with this kind of injury, if you come back too soon and you get re-injured, then it's a very long layoff. So they're proceeding very gingerly. We should have a better idea, probably not tomorrow, but in the coming days.
It's all speculation, gentlemen, I know, and I know none of you got any medical degrees, but just looking at the footage that we saw whilst watching the game, what's your instinct?
My instinct is it's a thigh injury. I have never in my whole life seen a player hurt his hamstring and not put the finger or their hand straight on it, and he didn't do that. Initially I thought it was his ankle, but then when you see them there, they've got their hands on his thigh. But the bottom line is, it's a muscle injury. And in my opinion, there is absolutely no way this guy's going to be playing against Ajax.
Really?
No chance.
What makes you say that, Steve?
Well, because
just explain to us.
With a muscle injury, you're talking almost a fortnight before you can have a little jog.
Right.
So how is he supposed to, 2 days later, if it is 16 days, how is he supposed to play a game? I think there's absolutely no way he plays in the first game.
Do you agree, guys? Like, obviously, you've been there, done that.
Well, I think it's important to try to figure out how bad the injury really is. And I'm sure that the doctors will go there, take a look at it, and the degree to which the hamstring or the thigh, whatever the case may be, how bad is the strain? And I think that then tells you how long the recovery period is. But what is true for any of them, whether it's a mild one or a full one, is that there's going to be a time that you're going to have to shut it down in order to have the muscle heal. And then once you shut it down, in order to get back, then you have to build the strength back up. You don't actually start running at full speed and cutting and changing direction up until maybe 2-3 weeks down the road. And that's the period in which we're actually hoping to see Ronaldo play against Ajax. That's the part that I don't get. He may be ready to go in terms of start training full on, but that's different than being ready to play in a Champions League quarterfinal.
Now, where do we stand on this, Shaq? Do we stand in the fact that, well, thank goodness this just happened before the Ajax game, compared to what could be even harder semi-finals? Or do we look at the fact that Ajax were obviously excellent against Real Madrid, Ronaldo so key in the win against Atleti, that this could be decisive?
I think that's what you're looking at here, how both these teams performed in the previous rounds. Because ordinarily you see Juventus against Ajax, you think this is Juventus all day long. The challenge now is what do you do with Ronaldo and how much of a risk is it? The one thing you do know is that between Ronaldo and Juventus, they're going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at this. The hyperbaric chamber and every single other kind of treatment that they can come up with in an effort to get them right.
But throwing a sink at it isn't a...
Throwing a sink might do a little bit more damage. But there's absolutely no way, 16 days as Gab says to the first leg, there's absolutely no way that any of this makes any kind of a difference for that first leg. I'd be surprised if he wasn't, at the very least, knowing him and knowing how important he is to Juventus, at least on the bench for the second leg. They're hoping that they don't need him at all.
If I'm the coach, and this is Barcelona, then you're just gambling.
Right.
They've already won the league. They're out of their cup competition. So if this is Barcelona, then you just it's all out gamble. But the fact that it's Ajax and the fact that they should be able to beat Ajax without him, I'm not so sure you even risk him in any of the games, never mind the first one.
Is that the opinion in Italy, Gab, the fact that it is Ajax, they can kind of maybe rest him looking ahead to the semi-finals?
Yeah, look, I mean, you never want to look past an opponent, but I mean, as the boys are saying there, it would be absolutely calamitous if he comes back, hasn't regained all his strength, somehow re-injures himself, and then boom, it's season over, and he's not there for the second leg. Remember, this is a team that's been responsible for some tremendous comebacks. You should be able to put out a lineup that can hold its own and mitigate the damage against Ajax in the first leg. And then if you need him, you worry about it for the second leg. You know, you have a whole other extra 6 days in that case. So it's just a question of how Allegri plays this. I imagine he's going to be more conservative than the hypothetical lineup I put together.
But looking at this starting 11, it should be fine against Ajax, shouldn't it, over 2 legs?
They should be, and I think they will be. Now, I think the challenge for Massimiliano Allegri is not coming up with the lineup. It's keeping Ronaldo off the field if Ronaldo comes to him, knocks on his door, and says, I'm ready to play.
Right.
I don't know what those guys are telling you. I'm ready to play. Cristiano Ronaldo comes to your office and tells you that he is ready to go, then that's a difficult part, because who in the career that Cristiano Ronaldo has had has been able to tell him no? At this point in his life, who tells him no and said, no, you go sit down? That's a real challenge, because he is that kind of talent, he's that kind of player, and he's that kind of personality.
Quickly, Gab, what are you going to say?
No, I was just going to say Ronaldo's pretty maniacal when it comes to his body and knowing his body at this stage of his career. You know, he didn't come to Juve to go and play against Ajax in the quarterfinal. I think he understands the stakes, and I don't think he's going to go and push himself if he's not ready and if the doctors tell him he's not ready. This were a final, would be totally different.